There are actually 6 types of chemical reactions. Yung synthesis, ito yung general formula niya, so we will be discussing it later. And then decomposition, single replacement, double replacement, neutralization reaction, and combustion reaction. We will just be discussing the first 4, yung combination, decomposition, single replacement, and double replacement reaction. So in combination reaction, yung general formula niyan can indicate that in combination reaction, there are 2 or more reactants forming a single product. So example ng combination reaction, you have the formation of water. You have hydrogen and oxygen forming water. So as you can see, you have 2 reactants forming a single product. Now, let's have the summary to check kung balance na yung equation. So you have hydrogen and then oxygen. So 2 atoms for the reactant side and then 2 atoms as well for oxygen. Tapos sa product side naman, 4 atoms pala ng reactants ng hydrogen. Tapos 4 atoms naman din sa product side. And then you have 2 atoms of oxygen on the product side. So balance na yung equation. Another example ng combination reaction, formation of salt. So you have sodium and chlorine forming sodium chloride. If we summarize the number of atoms of each element, so sodium has 2 atoms on the reactant side and then chlorine 2 as well. Tapos product side, you have 2 atoms and then another 2 atoms for chlorine. So balance na rin yung equation. So remember that in combination reaction, we can have 2 or more reactants forming a single product. That's how combination reaction occurs. The next type of reaction would be the decomposition reaction. So in decomposition reaction, it is the actual opposite of combination reaction. Kapag ka naman decomposition, there is a single reactant forming 2 or more products. Let's have the decomposition ng hydrogen peroxide. So you have H2O2 will form H2O and oxygen. If we summarize again for everyone to see kung paano siya na-balance. So you have the elements hydrogen and oxygen. 4 atoms of hydrogen sa reactant side. Tapos 4 atoms din ng oxygen. Sa product side naman, you have 4 atoms of hydrogen here. Tapos 4 atoms of oxygen. Paano naging 4? 2 times 1 is 2. Plus 2, you have 4. And another example, electrolysis of water. So for you to separate the components ng water into hydrogen and oxygen, you have to apply electricity or electrolysis. So in electrolysis of water, you have H2O, which will form hydrogen and oxygen. If we summarize the atoms of the element, so you have 4 atoms of hydrogen as reactants, and then 4 atoms ulit sa product side. Sa oxygen, you have 2 atoms for both the reactants and the product side. So that's how the decomposition reaction occurs. Next type of reaction would be the single replacement reaction. Sa context ng chemistry, imagine if A and B are both metals. They are both elements. Yung si B nga lang, nasa compound siya. Okay, but since element A is more reactive than element B, element A can replace B in the compound. So in the context of chemistry, they are both compounds and they just exchange their partner in a compound. So ganun lang yung double replacement reaction. So going back dun sa single replacement reaction, how do we know if a particular element is more reactive than the other? So in chemistry, we use the activity series of metals. Ito activity series is arranged from the most reactive element to the least reactive element. So in this case, lithium is the most reactive element and then gold is the least reactive element. Meaning, if let's say lithium is present together with one element in this activity series, automatically, it can replace anything below it kasi siya yung most reactive. Now, in the case of gold, since siya yung least reactive element, kapag gusto niya mag-replace sa isang element na sa activity series, hindi pwede kasi least reactive ang gold's activity series. Say, for example, we have zinc and nitric acid. So sa zinc at saka sa nitric acid, sino ba yung gustong mag-replace? Automatic, yung gustong mag-replace would be the standalone element or yung zinc. Okay, sino yung i-replace niya? Look at the activity series. Sino ba ang kasama niya sa activity series? Hydrogen. So if you look at the activity series, the question now is, can zinc replace hydrogen in the compound? If you look at the position ng zinc sa activity series, zinc is higher than hydrogen. So therefore, zinc can replace hydrogen. Okay? And then, we will have the product zinc nitrate and hydrogen. If we put 2, if we summarize it, you have zinc, the following elements, zinc, hydrogen, nitrogen, and oxygen. So sa reactant side, you have 1 atom of zinc, and then 2 atoms of hydrogen, 2 atoms of nitrogen, and then 6 atoms of oxygen. So sa product side naman, you have zinc, 1 atom, tapos ang nitrogen, 2, kasi kailangan nyo i-distribute yung subscript. And then, sa oxygen, you have 6. Tapos, sa hydrogen, you have 2 as well. So, balance na. Sa next example naman, you have magnesium chloride and bromine. As you can see, you have their bromine, who wants to replace chlorine. Pero as you can see, wala siya sa activity series ng metals. Kasi, hindi rin man pwedeng magnesium ang i-replace ng bromine kasi hindi magkasama ang dalawa sa activity series. Kasi ang halogens or yung group 7 elements, they have a separate activity series. So ano ba yung activity series ng halogens? You have fluorine, chlorine, bromine, and iodine. Dito sa activity series ng halogens, you have the most reactive element to the least reactive halogen. Ang question now, can bromine replace chlorine? Since bromine cannot replace chlorine in the compound, there will be no reaction that will occur. So there will also be no reaction, no equation to balance.